my God, go fuck yourself. That was then. This is now, bitch. It's a whole new set of rules. It's Monday. If you ain't waking up with the taste of blood in your fucking mouth like a shark 5 feet from the shore, you fucked up. You understand? Because Monday is when you go everything else in life. Still, the weekend, you fucking go.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Monday. You know what? First of all, it's Monday, but secondly, it's a special Monday because it's Martin Luther King's birthday. And MLK weekend is always a dope weekend, especially in the African American community, because it probably is one of the first holidays we kind of got back in the days where we can finally start saying they're acknowledging us, they know that we're here, and they think that what we do matters. So happy MLK Day to everybody. I hope you guys have had an absolutely phenomenal Monday. I hope even that, because you had a long weekend, some of you. So I hope your weekend was nice and long. You had a good time as far as your weekend is concerned. But you know how we do. We start this off always by finding out my partner in crime, how his weekend went. And then we go from there. Mine was good. It was quiet. I didn't do too much of anything. I went out to something Friday night quietly. And then Saturday and yesterday or today was just staying in the crib relaxing. So it was a nice quiet weekend, but I feel good. I'm energized and I'm happy to be here with you all.
No. Tell the people what you told me. I got you hooked on drugs. The man said, I got him hooked on drugs. It's only right because I'm hooked on drugs. you only want anything going good. See, this is the problem with people, man. People don't, either they get something good and they want to keep it to themselves, or they keep it a secret, they don't want to share it. When I'm on to something good, I want my friends to feel good, like I'm feeling good, because I found something out. So we're talking about the edibles, and I'm not denying it. You know what I mean? Okay, I got you on the joints. You know, I'm the Nino Brown of this show. So, but here's the thing, Amir. Them shits, yo. It's one thing to do them just on some record. There's another thing when you time them shits where they save your fucking life. And that was me this week, because the weekend was stupid dope, right? Eventually. But it didn't start that way. Like Friday was a good night. I originally was flying out Friday because I had Rochester 2 shows Saturday, and last night Press Factory 2 shows, bringing in King Day. So my plan was like, you know what? Why don't you go to I should have followed my original plan, because I was like, go to Rochester day early, settle in so that you're fresh when you. But I said, you know what? The day kept going long. I was doing shit around the house, and I was like, you know what? I want to spend this one extra long day. I wanted to leave my dogs with 2 days instead of 3. In other words, so I said, I'm just gonna chill. Got with some old friends, had dinner, drinks. I was supposed to leave at the dinner place, the restaurant, and go, meet Rick and them at the bar, like the usual. Mm-hmm. Rick, bitch ass, decided he ain't going out tonight, right? So I said, fuck it. All right. Went back home, spent the night with the dog, great. Got up early in the morning. Let me catch my little flight. I got a flight for 8 o'clock, getting me in at 9:30. I got the whole fucking day. Show ain't until 7:30. Amir, I go all the way to JFK, and that right there, that's wrong. Anytime talent flying out of JFK, something ain't right, or it's international, because I'm right by LaGuardia. With no traffic, nigga. I'm at LaGuardia in 13, 14 minutes, no traffic, right? So that's my favorite airport for convenience. So anyway, I bought this ticket a month ago, so I said, oh, fuck it. Let me go to Delta. I got to use a ticket instead of wasting money. We get on this plane. I think it was a little late. It's supposed to be 8 a.m. Got on maybe 20, 30 minutes late. We get now. If you remember Saturday morning, the flurries started a little snow flurry. Yeah. So we sit on the runway for about an hour and a half. They waiting for the people to come. They got to do the frost and shit before they go on the air and all that shit. Runway, hour and a half from 8:30 now. So now you're close to like 10. Nigga, take off, bro. And you only in the air for about maybe 45, 50 minutes in the air from here to Rochester. Halfway, 20 minutes in. You hear the motherfucker come on the loudspeaker. Hey, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Something's broke on the plane. We got to go back to JFK. You halfway there, bro. whatever the fuck it is, bro, they make a decision they gotta go back to JFK instead of going fixing it straight ahead. Because to me, it's the same shit. If you're halfway in and you gotta be in there 20 more minutes, right? Is either you going to the destination side or go back. So they went back to JFK. Bro, we fucking got off. They didn't know what to do. Everything's taking forever. So we finally said, all right, we're going to deplane, get off, go down a few gates. We got another plane coming in, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I get out there. I was supposed to be at 9:30 a.m. I get out there after 4 o'clock. I said to myself, if I would have got on the train, I would have got here 2 hours early, right? So I'm like, whatever. Now I'm tired. But 4 o'clock don't really leave you nap time. Like I said, I'm supposed to be getting ready by 6. Shows at 7:30. So I'm like, fuck it. Get everybody together. We get up. I go in the room, get something to eat. By the time I eat a shower, whatever, it's time to take a shower, get to the show. 2 shows were great. Shout out to all the comedians. Shout out to Joe Claire, like headlining 2 for 2, like just beast mode in that motherfucker, right? So that's great. But now I can't get high that night because I got to get up on the 6 a.m. shuttle to get my ass back to Jersey. But I'm flying into Philly, me and John Phillips. And we go to Philly, and I got to, get a train. I got to grab the Amtrak, take me to New Brunswick. When I get to, like, that morning, my nigga, like, going to the flight with him, once I got to the airport with John, I'm like, I ain't gonna fuck about nothing during the day. Like, I start eating the cookie. Let me tell you the funniest shit. You want to talk about high shit that's funny? I took it. It was about maybe half a cookie, but I got coffee this morning, so I'm drinking my coffee. Perfect. Go with the coffee. So I hate when I take them and I forget I take that. That's the funniest high. There's one high when you sit there waiting to get high. There's another high where you done took the motherfucker and forgot. You took it, right? So I forgot I took it. I get on the plane. Apparently the shit kicks in after we start taxing the ticket. Amir, that motherfucker start going down the runway. You know how the planes go, woo, and they like speed up and shit. Yo, I'm at the window. Where's the mother? I'm like, yo, this shit is fast. Like, I'm looking out the window at the ground. In my mind, I'm racing on a fucking race course in my mind. And then that shit go up. I said, yo. I'm looking at the clouds. Yo, I've never looked at the clouds like this. And just then, about 10 minutes of staring at the clouds, like, oh, shit's crazy. I say to myself, you fucking high. Then I've been on 1,000,001 planes. Why are you so excited about this shit you see all the time? So I'm like, I just said, yo, close the shade, man. I go to myself. So now I land. I'm not done. Take some more, because I got some time during the day. I got the whole joint. By the time, I want to say the first show over there was 7. By the time 7 hit, I started to, a half hour before showtime, you felt it all come back down. You're back on normal. And I was like, great. So I get there. Me and Joe get there. Joe Blazes, Stress Factory. Shout out to Tommy Too Smooth, DJ Jess Power, Joe Claire, Natasha Face, and my funny dude, Charles Walden, who's coming. I put him on this. Is it next week? Or next Thursday at the Harlem joint?
Okay.
I can't wait, to see Charles do his thing. So that shit happened. And when I tell you he blazed, yo, and between being high, you know how we drink in there, especially 2 shows.
Yeah.
2 big shows. And I was proud of the people because 3-4 days before we get to Sunday, P calls me. Power's like, yo, should we condense it to 1 show because the sales is low on the second show and it's heavy on the front? I said, Power, it's fucking middle of the week, bro. Get these people get paid this week. You know how black people are last minute. Advance ticket to the average black person is earlier that day. Unfortunately. So my thing is, get them some time, so I don't hear nothing else from the motherfucker, right? So I already know I ain't heard nothing from you. Shit must be crazy. We getting there 2 crazy ass shows. People pack it out. It's unbelievable. So the weekend was great. Definitely did my toasting on stage for Martin Luther King Jr. And here we are, people, on a Motivation Monday. But it's like you said, a special Monday because even when I came home and out in the fresh air, walking the dogs, and I always talk to the universe, talk to God or whatever. And I was like, just sent a big thank you up to the heavens for Martin Luther King and everyone of his likeness, everyone who fought the fight, the great big fight that continues to go on to this day. But they made the biggest dents. People like, the Harriet Tubmans, the Frederick Douglasses, the Martin Luther Kings, the Abernathys, the Malcolm X's, even to this day, Farrakhan still fights the fight. Like, we got a lot of people out there that are intricate parts in getting us to just, even though we always complaining today that we ain't where we want to be, we're a heck of a lot further than where we could have fucking been. So I just acknowledge the work and the ethic put forth. Now, Martin Luther King, to me, I kind of gravitate. It's funny how with age, we look at this journey different, this freedom fight, if you will, this civil rights battle, because Martin Luther King, to me, and I think I do it now with the kids, like, if I talk to kids or my kids, my younger me related more to King. The whole nonviolent thing and, the marching, everything, the speeches, the impact. And then I think the older me, so let's just split it in half. Let's say like up to 25, 30, you know what I mean? 25, 30, I've really King resonated with me through my brain. After 30, I would say more Malcolm X, more Black Panther-ish. And I think that got to do with when we grow up and get older, our tolerance changes. You know what I mean? And then we start to comprehend a lot of things different as an adult. It's dumb shit. Like, think back to your school and how big you thought your school was when you was a little kid. And then go to your school today or look at it today, and it's like these little ass hallways. And he's like, damn, we was walking 30 deep down these little hallways, and they had 4 classes lined up. But when you little, the world's a much bigger place.
Yes.
And as you get older and an adult and bigger in stature and everything, the world's smaller. Things are a little more clearer and simpler. And not that I don't resonate with King, I have a different appreciation for him. I tell you that. Martin Luther King, now, as an adult, when you look at it and you can comprehend some of the atrocities, I take my hat off quicker to him. Like, back then, I was like applauding him, but now I got to take my hat off because I couldn't do it, bro.
Yeah.
I'm Malcolm X and Black Panther all day these days.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Like you said, again, big shout out and happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. I oddly enough picked this day, as I always do, especially, because we have so far and few in between that are acknowledged on a broader scale. As a community, we acknowledge what we acknowledge. But to your point, Martin Luther King, you're right. His stance, as it appeared to us as children, had such a different, profound effect on us than it does now as an adult.
Right.
Because you're absolutely right. You look at the difference in ideologies, you look at what was trying to, or what he was working on trying to accomplish with his stance and the approach he took. And then to your point, you look at a Malcolm X and you say to yourself, like, wow, these are gentlemen who, for all intents and purposes, not only did they change the world, but they put themselves, their families, and the people closest to them not so much in harm's way, but they chose to take that opportunity to really see what long-lasting effect they could have on the world. When I, had the opportunity today to see all the quotes and posts that people did today, which I thought was incredible. Everybody posting things from stuff that was saying, I think one of the most famous Martin Luther King quotes that always resonates with me is, you got to take the first step and take those steps in faith, to paraphrase, what he says. And I think that so often as men and women, we forget that part of, the equation when it comes to being an adult and adulting. You have to really take your time to carve out, understand what things make sense to you and how they put you in a position to be, the best version of yourself that you could be. In particular, this day, like you said, along with, some of the other great leaders who we now, know and acknowledge, I just always feel great about knowing that that was a gentleman who walked, this particular country and this particular world, and had the heart, had the gall, had the audacity to speak his truth and
Mm-hmm.
to share that with the world, so that they could have a different appreciation, have a different understanding of what the world is like, and how we should move forward. So I'm always very, very thankful, for him in this day. And I'll just share this real quick. And I, shared this a while back when we even first started doing this. I remember the company that I worked for. I remember when I first started working there, we didn't have off Martin Luther King Day. So that may, genuinely be new for a lot of us. But I remember we didn't used to have it off. And I remember it used to have to, take one of your personal days or whatever the case may be.
Right,
And I
remember
remember,
that? Yeah.
and I remember I used to take it every year. And I'll never forget, I had supervisors and bosses who at the time were like, man, why are you taking that day and this and that and the third? And I was like, because if it were not for that gentleman's heart, if it were not for his vision, if it were not for his words, somebody like myself wouldn't even be able to walk or work for a Fortune 500 company, because that's not what y'all were doing back then. And he was trying to get us to a point, into a place where there was a ideology of equality, there was an ideology of brother and sisterhood, and not this, because it's a color thing, it separates us, it makes us different, does all these things. Now, granted, that is a real ideology that a lot of people utilize. But, if you really think about it, like they say, for the most part, we're all the human race. It just so happens that we have color as a diaspora, as a byproduct of the race. Everything from pink to, dark as coal. But that's because it makes sense. You do the same with flowers. You do the same with everything else in life. We just don't look at it that way. But like I said, I am very, very, happy that, we get this day to reflect. And I hope that people did have the opportunity to not only, enjoy the day off, but reflect a little, be thankful, be mindful that, excuse me, somebody sacrificed their time, their energy, and their freedom at times just so we could have this. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
big.
I mean, it means so much to so many people. And shout out to people like Alfreda, once again, who just buried a family member. Condolences go to her. And she just put in the comments, it's the first time her company, has, I guess, acknowledged it or whatever the case may be. I know I spoke to over the weekend, I was joking about it on stage, as I do every year, when I say no work Monday, because, there's a handful of people, a certain constituency that has to still work, even though it's a national recognized holiday. But I'd be like, if you got your job, don't recognize it. You left at one of the few plantations. Your job is one of the few plantations left, or whatever the case may be. Always making fun of it. But speaking of guests, as I said and promised, special guest today. And I thought about it. I said, I got to bring somebody on other than us that should be grateful for opportunities, because that's what I look at. That the thing that stands out to me with the freedom fighting is what I'm able to do today because these people did that yesterday. Welcome to the show. He has his own morning show. You know this guy from the Apollo Theater, all the comedy networks, and touring nationally and internationally. Good friend of ours, good friend of the show. Comedian extraordinaire from the Sean Harvey Morning Show. Sean Harvey should be ready to come in the living room. Mr. Harvey.
What's going on, King?
Yo, man.
Here's my brother. First and foremost, happy King Day to the King.
Yo, happy King Day to both of you kings. And yeah, it's a special day for me. But I want to just backtrack just for a minute. I'm so grateful that to you, Talent, that, that they made an announcement that the plane was not working, and, you guys made that U-turn and landed. But the funny part about your story is that everybody get off the plane and it landed, and everybody's complaining that, you need to get back to A and B. And my whole thing is like, you guys landed.
Right. Right. But my thing is like, do the math. Do the math. Now, if they tell me I can't fly because something broke a plane, I understand that shit all day. I'm a mathematician though. And right. if it's if you're in the air 40 minutes, work with me here. and you're 20 in. That's halfway. And you say, shit, speedometer is fucked up, whatever. We're going to go back to JFK, which is 20 more minutes. Which is the same fucking amount of time. That means, so you knew you wasn't crashing in 20 minutes because you already got a plan to take it back to JFK. Now, I know that was a convenience thing for the airlines to save money because the only thing I could think of is, I looked at like cars, right? It's like, we know a bigger airport, if you ever been to JFK, you see those big hangar sections for the major airlines. So that means they got all the parts and everything they need at JFK. The little airport like Ross says, they probably got one wrench, one rim with some parts in it. They don't have the shit. So they're not thinking about the convenience of us. It wasn't a life or death thing. They was thinking of convenience and saving money to fix their fucking plane, whatever it is. But think about how scary that is, Sean. You on a plane, and a motherfucker come across the speaker and say something broke. First of all, tell me what's broke. Let me
How did you miss that?
Did you find a baby in the propeller? What the fuck is going on?
Exactly. Listen, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have freaked out with that message. You know, remember, you're flying in a capsule. We're not really supposed to be flying in capsules.
Right.
That's going 30 miles an hour, going 600 miles an hour at 30,000 feet in the air. We're not even supposed to be doing this. We invented all this shit, but we're not supposed to be doing it. So for them to give you that message in the air, I give you much credit, King, because I would have panicked. I'd have been like, wait a minute.
What broke?
I'm not going to fly the plane.
In my brain, I was like, something broke. But wait, what broke? And why didn't y'all catch this before we took off? That's the other part that I'm trying to figure out. Like, where was the checking everything before we left? Because I've been with you, T, to your point about them having de-ice the plane and all that shit. You be sitting on the ground, like looking out the window, like, yo, y'all getting all of this? Y'all sure y'all got everything? Because we don't need no mistakes once we get airborne. So I'm with you.
I'm grateful, man. What I wanted to tap on though, real quick, Sean, is A, what does Martin Luther King Day mean to you, and B, can you like encapsulate from where you were to where you are now, the freedoms and things that allow to us because of these freedom fighters. Like when you think of freedom fighters and civil rights, I mean, his King name is at the top of the list. If you're white, probably JFK. If you're white, it means black is king.
It means everything to me because, like, for you, like I did the same thing. Like I'll sit back and reflect on the true meaning of Martin Luther King and this holiday and all of us honoring this man, because Martin Luther King, I wish I had 1/10 of the courage that this man had. This is a man who stood for the rights, right? And to stop injustice any way he could,
right,
without no violence. Barking dogs in Birmingham, and we all saw that video. Barking dogs, Birmingham, fire hydrants came down there. They marched peacefully to change the injustice in the South back in those days. I don't think I would have been built to start a march and protest when Rosa Parks sat in the back of the bus. I might have been the type of person with Rosa, like, yeah, we're going to sit down here and be quiet. But this is a man that said, no, we're going to mobilize and we're going to change things in the deep South. And then check this out. They give him a Nobel Peace Prize. He goes out to Europe, get his medal, comes back to the South, back to marching again.
Yeah.
That takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that in the 60s. And that's what I think about. Like, I know you're right. We look at Martin Luther King a different way than we did when we were kids. But at the same time, I still look at this man as a man of course, faith and a man of courage to go through what he went through for the injustices of other people, almost like the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
Yo, that is unbelievable to me. So I sit back and I reflect, like, if it wasn't for men like him, we wouldn't be where we're at. He was one of the men. He was one of the black men that stopped unemployment. They used to have racial unemployment back in the day. Back in the days when you was black and you got fired from your job, you couldn't get unemployment. And he was one of the forefront. He was one of the leaders to stop that.
Let me tell you something. I listen to way too much hip hop because when you said, because if it wasn't, but my mom said it wasn't for the Bronx, this rap shit probably never was going on. First of all, tell me where you're from, uptown, baby.
No doubt.
No, but you're right though. You're right.
It takes a certain amount. It takes a certain man, a certain spirit to just say, you know what, I'm gonna pick up this baton and I'm just gonna, y'all just follow me.
Yeah.
And I get what you said. Let me tell you what I think is fantastic, which is kind of, it's hard to conceive and comprehend. This is how special this guy is, right? Or was. He stood the test of time. Like, when you look at all those speeches, let's look at America. To me, has did about 12 somersaults just in the last decade alone. So look at the climate and all the changes that we recently went through, and how we got to tweak or do the shit we used to do different. Like that shit ain't gonna fly no more. You know, these speeches were, like you said, the 60s, bro. And you can play these speeches today, 2023, and nobody's offended. If you're offended, you're just evil, because it's all against evil and division and unfairness and racism, and you know what I mean? So all those key elements that we are even fighting on a stronger front here in 2023.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then just to go back, just the fun fact, which I do love, because, you know, in the 80s, matter of fact, President Ronald Reagan was the one who said, you know what, we're going to spearhead this national holiday, because they wanted to have a national holiday for Martin Luther King when he died. So it took almost 20 years for that to happen. And then in 86, it happened where they observed it on a federal level. But Amir, you're right. Nobody paid it any mind. But on a fun fact with this, my beloved New York Knicks, for at least the last 20-something years, even when it wasn't fashionable to do it, they said, you know what? We're going to play ball every Monday afternoon on Martin Luther King Day, which is now a tradition. They didn't do that before.
That's true.
To me, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
And to your point, that's exactly why, you know, it's so imperative that, you know, we honor the greats or the people who have done great things for the culture or for our community, because we can easily, you know, obviously get caught up in some of the negative stuff or some of the negative people who have, you know, had an impact as well. You know, we hear the stories of, you know, cats that are street pharmaceutical salesmen that we celebrate and all this stuff. But, you know, people such as Martin Luther King and, you know, people such as, like you said, Malcolm X and, you know, certain leaders, these were people, like you said, that were at the forefront. And here's the thing I always say, because in theory now, and we've seen it, because if you're paying attention to any kind of social media, you see people getting knocked out, you see people getting smacked, and, you know, all these nefarious things when they say things that people, you know, feel are out of line. But back when, you know, Martin Luther King and these gentlemen were doing the standing up that they were doing, you couldn't get away with that. Like, you couldn't talk back. You couldn't, you know, certain things that you couldn't do, because it could mean death instantaneously in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always tell people too, we got to stop thinking that, you know, now because you have the ability to retaliate or to at least defend yourself or fend, you know, for yourself in the moment, that the people who didn't do it, imagine how strong you had to be for that, because these, you know, to your point, people sit-ins and all that stuff. So you were getting clubbed in the head, you know, by the police, or they were turning hoses on you and, you know, things like that, that weren't warranted. And they were actually inhumane when you really think about it. Because if you look at any old footage of that kind of stuff, you start just thinking to yourself, like, how wild of people are y'all to do that to another human being? I ain't forget color. It's just you doing something that inhumane to another human being. What's wrong with you? Like how does that even make sense in your spirit? In you know, from a moral standpoint, you know what I mean? Like, it's always been amazing to me.
You know, to break down segregation in the South, literally marching nonviolent, and also they're getting their asses kicked as well. drives the point home of, just to me, with Martin Luther King, unity in numbers.
Right.
It's something that maybe we need to go back to. It's the fundamentals of it all. I mean, I know like today, a lot of us are just polarized. Everybody's running for self. This is a type of person that was so selfless that he gave everything to the cause to stop people. Imagine us back in the 60s, we can't use the bathroom. There's another bathroom we got to use. We got to eat in the back of the restaurant, the back of the bus. And these were the laws of the lands on the federal level and the state level. These were laws. And for Martin Luther King, on the nonviolent tip, shout out to him, because, you know, a lot of the other fractions in the Black community wanted to go the violent way.
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King was criticized for that. But he stuck to his guns. I mean, I don't want to say stuck to his guns. I don't think that's cool. You know, he didn't stick to his guns, but he stuck to his principles. And these walls that we never thought that would crumble down,
right?
Crumble.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have economic segregation? We have that today.
Yeah.
But those are other things that we need to work on. But when I think of Martin Luther King, what courage and how good I feel about myself, that I know that I have the abilities to do what I can do in this life and in this world because of a man like him.
Martin Luther King is the speech king of all time, with a close second with Barack Obama to me. And Martin Luther King would have a hell of a podcast. Like this nigga podcast, the nigga podcast would be number one.
Yo, crazy.
That nigga podcast, you get, thank you for joining me, Amir. And everybody knows, you be like, yo, they be tuned in, like, yeah, heard him. The nigga would probably make 2 points in an hour. You see how we go all over the place for 1 hour? Martin Luther King, the way that him and Barack should be stretched out, they probably talk about 2 points per podcast.
Right. And you know what? And you know what? And you know what? Amir, he was so great. Like, it's like the Michael Jordan syndrome. Like, his kids could never reach that. Martin Luther King's son and daughters and all them, God bless him, they could never reach that plateau like Michael Jordan's sons and all that. This is a one. I wouldn't want to be Martin Luther King's father. I don't want him to be Martin. I wouldn't want to be a son of his.
Yeah.
There's no way.
When your father's that great, I don't care if you're a son or a daughter, like, you become an instant hater. Like, I would be at all his speeches smoking weed. Heckling, nigga. You be saying deep shit. And I have a dream. Yo, what you dream about, nigga? The nigga be like, yo, what the fuck? But I mean, how many times we look at the preacher's kid? Right?
Yeah.
The preacher's kid is rebelling from this light, because Martin Luther King was a preacher. So the preacher's kid was rebelling from this so-called life, or whatever the case may be. Now, I personally only met probably one of his kids, so no real close connection with the family and nothing like that. However, now Malcolm X's daughters, my girl Ilyasah Shabazz and her sisters, now they live down the block. You know, they came up growing up down the block in Mount Vernon, and you know, we then spent a couple of New Years together and all that. So we got a little connection. Wonderful books that Ilyasah's a great writer too, like her shit books. If you want to learn history about Malcolm X and the father, the daughters, and Miss Betty Shabazz and all that, go search Ilyasah Shabazz and pick those books up. But yeah, like I was telling Amir, like I noticed that, not that I think as a kid, I put in my mind, freedom fighter, I put Martin Luther King above everybody else, right? As an adult, after I lived half my life, and now I'm reading, doing my own due diligence and research and history. I, became a history buff and shit like that. And really, as an adult, looking through, because to me, when you hit a certain age, inadvertently, now you're looking at life through a different lens, if you will. Right. You got a young lens and you got an older lens. Your young lens, like I said, interprets things in a young way. So you're not going to see it. Perfect example. All of us, as adolescents and young men and women, went against the grain of our parents for the most part. You know,
Yeah.
like they didn't know what the fuck they was talking about all this time. And then soon as your ass went and did what they told your dumb ass not to fucking do, some random ass moment you have an epiphany. I gotta apologize to my mother. My mother was right. Of course
Yes.
she was right, motherfucker. She had an apartment before you had one. You lousy son of a bitch. Your mother just signed first leases. You your first lease, but your mother trying to help you and tell you, but you telling your mother she wrong about what the fuck she talking about. And then if you're halfway in that fucking lease, you just rub your fucking eye of disgust because a fucking migraine coming right here. Like, my mother told me don't do this stupid ass shit.
Yes.
It was right. So I look at that also, like our freedom fighters, like the people before us to open these books. And when I celebrate on this day, every time I think of it, like behind me, I mean, you can't see me, but to my side is Malcolm X with the famous picture by the window with the gun. Sade's over here. So I'm big on my peoples and everything. But I start to get really humbled and grateful of the little things. It's like guys like me and Sean, we get on the road, we pick up, go do this show. We already thinking about the next show. When we're doing this show, we already think about, I got to get up at 6, got to go there because that show's at 10. And there's a constant wheel barrel just spinning, like a chain, if you will. And these are the moments, these are the days, King Day. That's why you always hear me mention everybody because everybody don't have a holiday. So to me, I put all of them lumped on King Day. This is all you got holiday. There is no Harriet Tubman Day. There is no Malcolm X Day. Like there is no Frederick Douglass Day. Like there is no Nat Turner Day. All these motherfuckers that's intricate parts of the movements, they don't all have days. So I lump them all under the one day. But the one thing I'm humble about is I take a second and just start to, humbly go through these things I'm able and capable to do today because of that. Yeah. Without that fight, we don't have these fucking ongoing comedy concerts and shows and getting out here and being able to get in front of people and not just make them laugh. But I told somebody the other night, I said, you can look at this and minimize it, or you can look at this and maximize it. I choose to maximize, and I choose to tell people to start to maximize it because you looking at it like you just got up there and made some people laugh, told a couple jokes. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go work on my jokes. How about turn the lens around from the other side? You inspired somebody.
Yeah.
You healed somebody tonight. You made somebody, you saved somebody tonight.
Yeah.
I've had over 30 years, I could tell you some crazy fucking stories that people just felt the need to share to me. And I may or may not remember the night that they're talking about in particular, but I'm still wowed by the story. Like, word? Like, yeah, man, we came out, I was going to murder this nigga, man. We did this, that, and the third, and I was in my feelings, man, and I just needed to kill a little time, and sitting there 2 hours laughing, and then talking and chopping up with y'all and throwing a couple back. I didn't feel like killing them.
Yeah, and back to King and today, which is a blessed day. The one thing that we are fortunate to have today is that Martin Luther King's story and what he went through is well documented in history. Because sometimes we distort the history, or sometimes we don't know, and we come up with our own conclusions, or nothing was recorded. And sometimes we have to come up with our own conclusions. But in this particular case, it's well documented from A, B, C, and D, where we can all take a piece of his legacy and ingrain it into ourselves and become a better person. Right. And that's one thing I'm grateful for, that all of this, unfortunately, even to the day he died, was all documented. Yes. Where a lot of the truths, like for example, like sports and or back in African American history or in the school system, like they hid a lot of history in the curriculum for school for Black folks, and we had this traditional way of being taught. This is not the case with Martin Luther King. We know the whole history, so no one can flip it, turn it around. This is what it is, and I'm grateful for that as well. Now, I got a problem with that statue that they had with him in Boston. They gave him a statue in Boston the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the way the statue looked.
I agree with you. Like it's
What the
weird.
fuck? What is the statue? Two hands
Well,
and a penis.
yeah,
Just two hands and a penis.
it looks crazy. But you know what happens too, and this is, goes back to, again, the point of some parts of this conversation. A couple of things. One, Sean, you make a super valid point when you say that we could take from what they managed to accomplish in that time frame, especially with the bus boycott, because so often we don't realize that, number one, not only do we have numbers, there's power in numbers, but the effect of those numbers and what they do for a bottom line. Because fortunately, unfortunately, this country is a very capitalistic one, to say the least.
Yes.
And even when we all kind of get that in our heads and understand that, our dollars matter, and especially our community, much more so over any other community. I don't care what anybody says. When you look at our buying power or our financial power here in this country, nobody has a stronger financial power than us. We just don't
Right.
do a better job of understanding what that power looks like and how to wield it properly. The real reason why so many other groups of people seem to get the things that they get, because we always are like, yo, well, this group, because they understand how to wield that power and they work from that ideology and from that standpoint. We hear about it and then we kind of know of it, but we never apply it like we could and we should. And if and when we ever do, it's going to be lights out, because they really won't be able to do anything with us once we start really understanding how powerful of beings we really are in terms of when we come together and what that really looks like.
Now,
So
here's the unfortunate thing
Well
of
said. Well said. Well said.
one of the unfortunate thing of goats or heroes, if you will, or these iconic people, they have to come to that place, because you're not always deemed that. Because when you're in the movie, when you're actually in the movie in real time, you can't see the forest through the trees. You have to back away out of the movie to maybe look at it maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. You'll see it different, like I said, like how we look at stuff young and later. Because even though we're sitting here praising Martin Luther King Jr. and calling him the hero, giving him all his accolades and roses and flowers and all that stuff, and recognizing him, it wasn't always the case. Like, in his own timeline, he was public enemy number one at times here in his own country. He called his residents in the United States of America. Same thing like the Malcolm X's and the Black Panther parties and all that. They were demonized. They were criminalized for trying to stand up and fight for these civil rights. Now, here we are. Fast forward, we're able to look back at history and go, you know what? He was doing the right thing, or you know what I mean? He was right, he had it right, and blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But let's face the facts. Even Michael Jordan, in the midst of all those playoff runs they played against the Knicks, we wasn't looking at him like he's the greatest of all time. Yeah,
Right.
he was just a bad dude we was battling. We had to beat. Now, fast forward, he retires twice. He go play golf and start becoming a super duper businessman on top of what he already was and everything. And then we get to look at more and more players' stature after him, next to him, and we're like, the Mike's the GOAT.
Right.
Like you got more dudes in the barbershop and go, nah, Mike's the GOAT. And then now the young kids behind us that's growing with LeBron, nah, he's better than Mike, because they didn't live in the time. All they get to do is go back and look at the highlights or some shit we say happened or whatever the case may be. But when you live it, a lot of these heroes and icons are not deemed that way in their own time.
yeah,
That's right. And then on top of that, we're also so humbled to down the road we're able to experience all this greatness. And you're right. At the time, we arch enemy number one. But when you go, you think 20 years down the road, and we go, man, I'm just so grateful that we had the opportunity to see Michael Jordan put in that work. Because when the heroes from before our time, we don't know. So we got to go. Our elders tell us, like, yo, you know what? He was a great man, and we do believe them. But we never experienced it. But You're right, with the Michael Jordan situation, we experienced this. That's why we're so grateful to at least have the recorded history. And there's still some folks that are still alive today that experience the greatness of Martin Luther King, even when he was being ridiculed in them streets at that time.
Yeah.
Gotta be about 90 now. Like my mother, God bless her, she's 90 years old. She remember all of this.
Ain't that crazy?
I think you add to that the fact that when you look at a Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, or like I said, any of these people, like you said, look at how it bled over into other things. When you look at that iconic picture with Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Right.
Jim Brown, and those other gentlemen, another situation where those guys, I'm sure, took from what they saw, Martin Luther King and certain other leaders of that time doing, and was like, all right, well, if they have the wherewithal to stand up and, like you said, to poke their chests out and say, look, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to go about it, for them to come together and to try to show that generation of athletes and so forth and so on, look, it's possible. We just got to kind of stick together. And I think that is, something that is lost on, some of what we have managed to, learn from his journey. And like you said, from his, what he's added to us as a whole and as a world and as a country. So I'm thankful for, so many different variants and things that, you could tell he's poured into and given us, such greatness. And then, last, like you said, and you touched on this, T, when you talked about his speech, his ability to do speeches. I mean, obviously, that Barack Obama in particular has to be somebody who, over the course of his career, over the course of his life, has probably studied those, earlier speeches and or listened to the impact, or that's had an impact on him, so that you fast forward to where we are now, he's able to articulate himself in a way that leaves us all like, okay, that's real deal now. We understand, we see it. So
impact is real, man. Sean, first of all, did you do a show today or you took the day off?
Yeah, we did the show today. I did it because of Martin Luther King. I didn't want. That's what I did. I did the show. But you know what? Back to touch on both you guys have made very valid points. And T, you're right. I rank Barack Obama up there. Was one of the greatest one of the greatest speeches of all time, because remember that night he won the presidency the first time, and he was in Chicago, and he recognized being president. I cried like a baby.
Yeah, me too.
I cried like a baby. Now I'm thinking, wait a minute. When Martin Luther King Jr. was hot in these streets, I know when he was doing his tours with these churches, they had to break them off some money. Imagine Martin Luther King coming over to Union Grove Baptist Church on a Sunday in his heyday. You got to give him 5 stacks. There's no way. Martin, he was getting that money. Imagine, 1 Corinthians Baptist Church. Martin's coming through. We got to give him all the money.
You're so fucking stupid. First of all, yes, if you want to monetize, he's so stupid. The man got a family.
Yeah.
So just like us, like if we lived in a world, bro, where niggas say, okay, let's say you get to a certain amount of money and all your bills are paid and taken care of. I don't need no money. If I'm funny enough and I hit that threshold, we don't do it and take the money because we like the picture on the dollar bill or the color of the green. We do it because we live in a society where everybody has family and things that they got to constant keep up. You need electricity in your house. You need, these days, Wi-Fi in your house. You need a laptop to get your work done. You need a cell phone to do your email and all that shit. So even back then with less technology, if nothing else, that motherfucker had a family, nice size. Yeah. That's how many franks, fritters, and hamburgers had to be put on that table, and cups of juice and all of that shit. So, I mean, yeah, he got the bag. He had to get that. But here's the reality of it. This dude, at times, and this is where I judge people on their merit. Even though we're blessed with a skill, or in their right, they were great speech people and had to rile things up, and people wanted them to speak in their functions and their churches and all that. Even though we still gotta recognize, just like a comic, this man had to do this through all the adversity. So daughter could have the flu at the house. Auntie could be on the deathbed with cancer. You know, and you know, them times it was good for burning a motherfucking house up, put a burning cross on the lawn. So all these things are happening. Guess what? He still got to be at Ebenezer Baptist Church Sunday at 11 a.m. to give the fucking speech because the cameras are going to be there, the news is going to be there, and more importantly, I need to keep my foot in pressure on the presidency of the United States of America.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Exactly. Exactly. One of the number reasons why it makes this man a great man.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. In the day, America, we got to realize, and once we realize this, we'll be a little less mad at America on a daily basis. America's slow. You know how you give that extra whatever to that kid that's slow? Once they tell you he's slow, you drop all that shit you judge everybody else by. You know, the niggas move in, like, yo, get the fuck out the way. Yo, what the fuck? They be like, yo, chill, he's slow. You go, oh. You have to look at America like that. America's slow. So America is transitioning from probably one of the worst stories in history of atrocities to different types of people. So in fast forward 400 or 500 years and trying to slowly right those wrongs, to me, it's impossible to get it 100% right. That's first of all. But I think most people just want the acknowledgement. Like they just want you to know that it was fucked up and we in a fucking situation and blah, blah, blah. And I think I call it IMI. I always tell people when they piss me off, like if a person try to tell me something like I'm stupid, I say, don't insult my intelligence. Don't IMI me, motherfucker. And I think the problem is America IMI so many different type of ethnicity backgrounds, you know, ethnicities and ethnic background by acting like they don't know what the fuck is going on. The people in power that when it's brought up for so many years, I'll be honest with you, this last decade is the first time, and I'm 53, to hear people in powerful places and strategic governmental appointees to say, yeah, you know, racism fucked up. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, it's be going on. Heck of the numbers. Yeah, jails oversaturated. Yeah, they did this, blah, blah, blah. For so long, they would look us right in the eye and go, why are you pulling a race card? That's not happening. That's not racist. Why are you saying it's race? And blah, blah, blah. Because it's the underlining thread of the backbone on which this country was built on.
Yeah.
You came in here, it was niggas already here. And you called these niggas in.
Yeah.
And to add salt to the wound, for the next whatever hundreds of years, you put out 17,000 cowboy and Indian movies. And then we all called them Indians.
Yeah.
And right?
That's real talk.
And then somewhere in the middle of the movie, some fucking Native American got tired of this shit and said, we are the indigenous people.
Yeah.
And they got right collectively, they got roots to that shit. They got their movement together, numbers grew, whatever the case. America's now one of the first wrongs they try to right is, you know, and this is what I mean by they slow. To do something good, you're kind of doing something bad. So they say, no, you fucked up. You know, we stole your land. We're going to give you a bunch of this land back. You know what I'm saying? But you called it a reservation.
Yeah.
So because it's a reservation, are you not locking these niggas back up? I mean, big land. You got the jail is just bigger. Yeah. But you're doing this shit. You're doing this shit again, and then you figure out how to kick some money back through casinos on the land and all that crazy shit. But America is so much to right, wrongs to right, that I'm telling you, in my heart of hearts, it's impossible to get it 100% right. You can't do something so atrocious in the beginning. You can only fix it but so much. You know what I mean? Like, and I know my analogy sometimes, pardon me for going so far with this one. If I rape your sister, Sean, and I don't care if I was drunk, I don't care if I was under the influence or whatever, or didn't know who she was, or whatever. That's a whole nother story. But and then the next day, the cops are called, the depositions are given, the charges are dropped, the subpoena, and I feel bad, right? and I really feel bad. And I don't give a fuck how many times I ring your bell, Sean, and apologize. I can't write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I cannot. There's no way for me and all of us involved to ever get to a place where we walk around like it's right.
Like it's right.
Every time that comes up, every time you think about it, every time you see that person or hear about that or whatever, it's gonna drum something up. It's impossible to right certain wrongs. You can make gestures, you can make gestures and stuff like that, but it's impossible to make that shit 100% right.
Right. And it go here's another analogy. Just like when you talk about the indigenous people, reservations, like these folks own the island of Manhattan. But you give them, okay, my fault. We're sorry we took New York away from you. We're gonna give you 3,000 acres in Montana. What do we do? You can't write that wrong. We want New York back.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying clearly. You got Montana, and you're gonna get 2 or 3 reservations in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana, where
if I'm an indigenous person in the northeastern region of New York, and you send me to fucking Montana, I've never seen a buffalo in my fucking life, son. Now I gotta learn how to live a whole new type of life because my ancestors been here. We know how to fish. We eat wild squirrel. The wildest shit we see is a deer. Now you say, nah, all your niggas go to Montana. You look up and go, yo, what the fuck is that? A moose?
Right. And then have the goal to keep the indigenous names all through the East Coast. All the chiefs and the warriors and all these, but you still keep their name, but y'all got to go to Montana though.
I tell you, this is why people in the inner cities are so loud and frown upon gentrification.
Yeah,
because it's the same thing. It's the same thing done a different way. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Think about what you just said, Sean. Your analogy's dead on. You're moving groups of people so you can take this and have this. So what I've watched happen in my lifetime, in 50 years, and that ain't a lot, in the grand scheme of things. But it only took me 50 to see they did that time and time again. And what you just said, not just with the indigenous people, with black people. Right after so-called freedom and releasing the slaves or whatever, they gave you what they thought was swamp land and fucked up land they couldn't grow shit on, and land they deemed not good. That's where they put all the niggers.
Yeah.
Fast forward 100 years, 200 years, whatever. These lands became important again and robust again, and they done burnt out the shit they was keeping. So because you can't see the future. You can look right now, bro, we got good land. They should have thrived. And at that moment, you're right. All of a sudden, fast forward, the universe, Mother Nature, global warming, whatever the case would be. Now that desert you gave this nigga is a botanical garden.
Right.
If you will. And your shit is now the Great Plain. Now you like, how do we get that back? So they know from history we can't do it exact same way. So we're going to do it kind of economically.
Yeah.
I'm going to get developers. I'm going to develop a lot of housing, stores, businesses and stuff. A lot of shit that you can't afford, sir. And if I build enough of it, let it rock long enough, what you going to do because you can't afford to live anymore? You move away. I replace you with one of me.
Yeah.
So they're doing it all over again. This is why people in the uproar when you think about you.
No, I agree. It's like you said, the part I think that's probably the most upsetting about it all is, the three of us are sitting on here and we're, mapping out and/or nailing things that we've seen and that we've come to know over the course of our lives, just based off of not only being a part of this world, but going through the actual processes themselves, living on parts of it. And it is almost, it almost makes you want to throw up sometimes when you think to yourself that, again, there's a group of people who, for whatever reason, could be this atrocious to another sect of people for whatever
Yes.
reason. Like, it doesn't make a difference what your supposed reasoning is. The sad thing is, it resonates though across the board. I got the gentleman that run the bodega here in the corner. I got a Spanish one, and then I got the Arab spot on one corner of my block. So the other day I was in there and I was talking to the son and the uncle, and they couldn't, neither one of them could say Martin Luther King. It was like, there's a holiday coming up on Monday. I said, yeah, it's Martin Luther King Day. They was like, how do you say it? I was like, Martin. They couldn't, for whatever reason, they couldn't articulate it. But they said, you know,
Right.
they're very familiar with him back in their home country and so forth and so on. And it made me think. I was like, wow, you know, we obviously know them here because of the indoctrination of our educational system here. But you
Right.
know, again, to the point of the fact that even in, you know, places around the world, those names also ring true and or ring bells because of what they managed to do and their presence and their impact, which also translated, you know, or maybe they were taking certain things from other people. Gandhi is, you know, from India, and a lot of people say a lot of Martin Luther King's, you know, teachings and what you call it come from Gandhi, who, you know, was a peaceful sitting, you know, kind of dude or whatever the case may be. But it is amazing that, you know, again, with all of these things and now the ability to have this information at our disposal, because also remember when we were kids, especially the three of us, you had to go to that damn library, and that Dewey Decimal System was a beach. You'd be in that card like, yo, you know,
Right.
running around. Now you Google anything and you good to
Yeah.
go. You know, we only had them encyclopedias when we was kids, and we know them. Like, if you still got any of those encyclopedias anyway, I promise you, go look in them right now and see how outdated the information is in there. But it was outdated when you had them then. You just didn't know
Right.
that, which is why you
Right.
had to go to the library. So, you know, I think that, you know, we just have to continue to not only celebrate, you know, men with the character and the vision and the follow through that, you know, gentlemen such as Martin Luther King, you know, is and has, you know, has done, but gentlemen such as yourselves, because in theory, we only look sometimes to, like you said, after the fact, we see what impact, you know, certain things have had. But Sean Harvey, every morning he gets on, he has a show that allows us all to get on here, start our day right. He gives you thought-provoking things, or at least ways to think about simple, everyday things that you might not think about them in that light. He talks his talk, he walks the walk. You, through the course of your career, not only as, you know, a comedian, but the mentorship, the things that you've done, the helping people find and see things in themselves that they didn't see. We just
Right.
have to understand that each and every one of us have a role to play as far as this world is concerned. And that role is to go out here every day, be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And hopefully in turn, that allows the light or allows some other people to turn those lights on in themselves. So now all our high beams are, you know, going off, and everybody is getting, you know, caught up in that energy and in that synergy. And then we just make this world a better place, you know, through all of our efforts. So, you know, again, you can't, you know, quantify all of it, but the bits and pieces are so dope that you got to at least talk about it from time to time. You know what I mean?
Yep, I definitely do. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened. Sean clicked off, and he might have. Oh, there it
Yeah,
is.
no, my fault. It flipped off. Okay, I'm back.
But
Yeah.
that cricket got a timer. You know, you
Yeah,
got
yeah, no doubt.
I used to have a cricket phone that got a timer, so you got within that time. I'm glad you joined us, man. I know we went a few minutes over, but it was worth it. And let this be a lesson to everybody that will see this in real time and later time, that even though we made some strides because it is a national recognized holiday and a lot of us get the day off for work, but we showed up for this work because this work is the bullhorn to talk about the guy and the reason why we have this as a national holiday and a day off from work for most people. So it's okay for us to clock in and give our time to pay homage, because this is, like, again, these are the people who got us in position to even be able to do this shit at the level we do it on a regular basis. So everybody that had time to tune in real time, special shout out to you guys too, because we know it is a day off for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people just want to be one of those shows where people probably thought we were going to take off, so they're going to watch it in late time. But we leave it up and people will see the show. I want to thank Sean Harvey My
Yes,
great
sir.
good friend. Congratulations again on taking that trip to VA, that new room, and kicking them in the ass and doing what you got to do, brother. Great
Thank you.
damn job. You are the best. You are very inspiring, my brother. You are
Thank you,
very
brother. Thank you.
inspiring. Many a times I'm just in the middle of going from point A to point B in the morning, and a notification comes on my phone, and I click into the morning show just to hear, the shenanigans, what we're talking about, and
Yeah.
you're very well balanced. So I want to give you your flowers right now while I got you the show.
Thank you, brother.
Remember, your strength is in balance, brother. Your show's very well balanced. Like, yeah, y'all guys have a lot of fun and everything, but you're dropping a lot of jewels, and you get serious at times when you need to make your point.
Yeah.
You got a great team, Sean. Thank you for being on the
Yeah.
show, brother.
And thank you. Listen, much love to both of y'all. Y'all both inspire me as well. And like they always, like the old school saying, is birds of a feather flock together. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are. So it's an honor to hang out and be with a part of both of you guys' lives, bro. Peace.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Sean Harvey Morning Show, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you tune in on Facebook. He's on the web doing this thing. Sean Harvey Morning Show. It's your boy Amir Silly. I'm your boy Talon Harris, man. It's a Motivation Monday. Trust me, and my body and everything wanted to take the whole damn day and don't do nothing. But I think we would have did a disservice by not coming on here and rejoicing it. I mean, our show's only 1 hour. We can do it, goddamn it. You know what I mean? Amir, enjoy the rest of your day, King. This is your day. The day the kings of the day. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Say
sir.
less, do less, do more, say less. So whatever the case may be, we love y'all. Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. Shout out to Prophet Pete. We can't do it without him. WemsRadio.com. It's Motivation Monday. Salute everybody. We love y'all.
It's Monday, cocksuckers, and you better come prepared because they don't fuck around on Monday. Monday, most people come in, I had such a great weekend. Oh my God, go fuck yourself. That was then, this is now, bitch. It's a whole new set of rules. It's Monday. If you ain't waking up with the taste of blood in your fucking mouth like a shark 5 feet from the shore, you fucked up. You understand? Because Monday is when you go, everybody else is like, still, the weekend, you fucking go.